Assalamu alaikum. Hopefully, everyone is doing well. Dear scholars, today we are going to talk about various steps that are essential for writing a research paper. So, research, as you know, is very important nowadays for your degrees, for your promotions, for your progress, and for your credibility. So, there are various steps that are required to be followed in writing a research project or a research article. The most important thing while writing a research paper is to compose an abstract that has following things in it. So a research paper having an abstract should follow objectives, should have clearly defined objectives, should also mention the well established method related to that particular field of inquiry. It should also have a framework which should entail various variables that are essential to be followed. It should also have the application of those variables the, and the data analysis process. It should also hint about the conclusion or the possible finding. So it should be roughly about 200 to 250 words. It is important to follow the word limit as various research journals have that particular restriction to be followed. Next thing while writing a research paper is to uh, compose your introduction. But before introduction, various research journals they demand key terms. So at least 5 to 6 key terms should be written after abstract, and those key terms should reflect your framework or application area. The important thing after writing an abstract and key term is to write an introduction. What should a good introduction entail? A good introduction should have background, background to that particular context, background to that particular idea, background to that particular writer or that particular problem that you want to investigate in. So you should build your introduction by building a context of the background, and then you should also introduce the writer in about whom you're writing everything, such as you can write about the history, you can write about the writer's biography, you can write about the brief intro to those particular books or the novels or poems or short stories or whatever you have selected for your application area. It should also have the significance of research. Significance would tell you that how your future is going to be helpful, how your research is going to be helpful for future researchers. It should also have the problem which should be written in the purpose statement or the statement of the problem. The statement of the problem would indicate the social problem or the social applicability of that particular problem, that how that problem is rooted in the society. Also, a good research paper should have properly established or formulated research questions and research objectives, which would help you to define your research in a particular parameter. So, the background of the concept that with examples such as post-colonial theory, if you want to write about, so then you have to establish the background of that particular post-colonial theory, how it emerged, various writers related to that particular theory, such as Frantz Fanon or Edward Said. You can talk about that, or you could also talk about the introduction to the area of application. So the statement of the problem, research questions, research objectives, and significance of the studies would be the top headings after building the context or the background of your research paper in the introduction chapter. or in the heading of introduction. Second point, which is very important while composing a research paper, is to write about a method. Method, as you know, is very important for research work. Methods, for instance, you could follow various methods such as content analysis, such as textual analysis, such as TDA, or other research methods. But before writing that, you should talk about the approach which is quantitative or qualitative. Quantitative in terms of natural or sciences or linguistics, or it could, if it has the empirical applicability. But in case of social issues, it should follow the qualitative research paradigm. Also, you are going to talk about how within the method, that how the value of the text is related to that particular connection, which is related to social and cultural aspect of the life. So steps of textual analysis would come into this: reader's role, critic's role, writer's role, history of the era, politics, and other factors. So, some related to textual analysis, you could follow Gabriel Griffin's uh, research method of textual analysis, or you could follow Ellen McKay, or you could follow Norman Fairclough. There are various established textual analysis methods by various writers, so you could follow steps by one of those writers. So then there would be model and technique, content analysis, or the reader's response would be could be followed as a model. We would talk in detail about research method in another session, but you have to follow this research method as a core heading while composing a research paper. Next is literature review. As you know, that literature review entails the study of the previous literature, previous researches that has already been conducted in that particular era or in that particular field. For instance, if you're working on English literature, you need to find out or explore various researches that have already been conducted on the selected novels or poems or drama or the movie in that you have already selected. So you need to select some researches, at least 5 to 6 researches that have already been published in other research journals. So those researches would allow you to find out the research gap, and you are going to see that what are the findings of those particular researches and how your research is different from those researches. And after that, you need to find out theoretical framework which would have variables, which would have concepts, which would have uh, all those key elements of the theory that you have selected. So criticism on those selected framework could also be made part of that particular section of theoretical framework or conceptual framework when it is abstracted out of the theoretical framework. So research gap, which is very important thing while composing any research work. Research gap is basically the area which tells you how your work is different from those already conducted researches or the studies, how you entail to find out a new perspective or a new feature or a new uh, line then that have already been conducted, which will allow you to bring creativity or newness of your work. So at least 4 researches, 4 research articles, studies, and different studies about and their findings would be made part of literature review, and you are going to then differentiate how your work is different from those already given or stated studies, and that difference is going to tell you about that how you can follow a new way or a new thing which is called as research gap. So it is important to write this heading and follow this heading in your research work. So next thing is the discussion session or analysis session. Here you are going to follow those headings that have already been established in the section of framework. So those headings would be divided into on the basis of variables or the concepts that have already been established in the framework. So you're going to follow the headings over there, and those headings could be made part of analysis, and they would be working as a skeleton or a structure which would guide your analysis into a certain direction, and you could follow the headings of those variables or from selected from the conceptual framework, and then you're going to build concept from each heading, and then you are going to find out the relevant example related to that particular area, related to that particular section, and those examples could help you to apply that particular concept of theory into the area of application. For instance, you could find some quotations related to characters, themes, settings, or any other aspect of that particular book that you have selected. If it is literary study, but if it is some kind of experimental research, then you are going to see the selected data as part of your questionnaire or as part of your survey or as part of your experimental research. So you are going to extract the examples out of that particular text or at that particular data that you have selected, and then you are going to build the context of the data in the form of charts, if it is quantitative, or in the form of concepts, or the paragraph if it is qualitative research. Next thing that you are going to follow each heading in detail regarding each variable that you have selected. Our variable should serve as the guiding structure, you should follow the guiding structure, and all those related examples from plot, setting, themes, characters uh, would serve as the sources for application. All examples would have citations using recommended style, such as APA is demanded nowadays by most of the research journals, recommended by Higher Education Commission of Pakistan or Scoopus or Web of Sciences or other established platforms. So you could conclude each heading by following the theoretical frameworks again. So here you are going to cite everything, all those example instances that you have selected from the area of application. Next thing is conclusion. Conclusion is normally based on your research objectives. So in a way, you are answering back or you're concluding upon whatever the objectives that at the start of your study you selected, and those objectives uh, would be answered or explored, and how you are going to find out the answers or application of those or achievement of those particular objectives. So each objective would have a different paragraph related to that particular idea or the concept, and you are going to recapitulate or conclude all the significant points. Summary of each chapter would be written in brief wording. Recommended is also demanded by various journals. So recommendations are those particular outcomes, possible outcomes, tangible proof that your study has already provided. So all expected area of application and the future utility of the study would be made part of that particular work that you have selected for your research analysis. So last thing, which is very important, is finding that you are going to find out the finding or the responses related to your hypothesis, related to your research objectives, related to your research questions. And at the end of your work, there is a page which is called as work cited page. It should have all the detail of the sources which you consulted while writing a research paper, and all the sources should have the writer's last name, first name, uh, title of that particular book, year of your publication, or the publisher's name, city of publication. You similarly, if you're following some online resources, you are going to find out the URL also in connection with the name of the author, with name of the publisher, with the title of that particular study, and also you're going to find out the date in when you access that particular database from where you downloaded that particular uh, book or article. So you have to follow all these processes while writing a research paper. So you have to follow introduction, and after introduction, you are going to write about method, and then literature review, then research gap, analysis, discussion, conclusion, recommendation, finding, and works cited would be the last of the heading of your research objective. So thank you for your listening and for your patience.